guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today I have day 11 of my Once Upon a Book Club Advent box. So stay tuned. So it is day 11 of the Once Upon a Book Club Advent box, and if you are just tuning in, welcome. I recommend you go back and start at the beginning with day 1, and I will link that up here. But this box arrived significantly late, and so I decided to spread these out over a few months. And the way I'm doing it is it came with this book of 12 short stories, and each story has a gift that goes along with it, and at a certain point in the story it tells you to stop and open your gift. And so I've been reading these stories to you and showing you what the gift is as I open them. So today is day 11, so the story is The Right Path by Krista Holly. Icy wind whips through the tall pines, making me pull my puffy vest together and zip it up to my chin. Inhaling a deep breath, I gaze up at the tall green giants that surround me, wondering how many generations have been here in this same spot and breathed in the same fresh, crisp air I now greedily take in. I escape the gray concrete jungle of the city to find some peace, and already my mind feels blissfully calm. I was a little worried about being here alone, though. Some may argue I'm being naive or crazy. Who leaves work in the middle of the week to go hiking when they've never been hiking before? Well, that'd be me. I just needed an escape. And technically, I wasn't supposed to be alone, and I was supposed to be here 5 days prior. But when your boss bails on one of your company's biggest clients' events the morning of, you cancel your weekend plans with your boyfriend to take over and manage the event that she decided wasn't worth her time. I had to call Hawk and tell him I wouldn't be able to get away for the weekend, for the trip we planned. He was disappointed, to say the least. This just keeps happening. I felt this overwhelming anxiety when it came to keeping professional, but I buckled down and did everything asked of me, even when I felt like I was being walked all over. So after weeks of me being stressed and coming home exhausted, Hawk decided we needed to get away, go where cell reception was minimal, and enjoy only each other's company. He planned this amazing trip up into the mountains to a cabin only accessible by hiking. The great outdoors was his safe haven, and even though it gave me even more anxiety thinking about hiking to a remote cabin, I decided to jump with him. With Hawk, I knew I'd be in the best capable hands to guide me. I had to call Hawk 30 minutes before he was supposed to come pick me up and deliver the bad news. The conversation and the end of that night was still haunting me. Just another ruined weekend by being the woman with all the motivation and determination to make sure our company is always the best. And after I managed to make sure Dahlia's mediocre planning succeeded, even with a failed caterer and a sick auctioneer, she still received all the congratulations at our Monday team meeting. Of course, she didn't have a lick of kindness to thank the people who covered her ass, selfishly taking the praise all for herself while she stood and smiled like she was shy and bashful. I'd had it after that. I sat at my desk in shock all day Monday, stewed with frustration Tuesday, and ended the night with a wine glass of the size of my head and an email scheduled to be sent bright and early this morning to let the team know I'd be out for the rest of the week. Shirking my responsibilities never came lightly, but I need this. I need a disconnect from the same routine day in and day out, and to breathe air not tainted by endless streams of cars and people. I'd called the owner of the cabin, Mr. Kip, last night to see if it was available for the rest of the week and weekend. I explained what happened and how my boyfriend and I canceled over the weekend. He seemed confused but confirmed the cabin would be free by this morning. His own cabin was apparently a 2-hour hike further than the cabin he rented out, but could easily be reached faster by motorcycle apparently. He said he'd meet me there and show me around and make sure there were no issues with the generator and the place was clean after the last guest left. I worried about how remote this adventure would actually be. I'm the girl who's only ever been camping once, in my backyard. When Hawk first recommended a remote cabin and hiking for our getaway, my bugged out eyes made him burst out in laughter. Then he told me it had power and running water, and my entire body relaxed as I thanked God, which only made him laugh harder. I grabbed the backpack Hawk had prepared for me out of the back of the Jeep. I had all the supplies and first aid stuff he'd said we'd need, as well as 2 days worth of clothes and toiletries I'd need. I also packed some cans of soup, breakfast bars, and snacks I'd end up needing for sure. We had the Parent Trap moment where he teased me about trout being the only thing to eat, which wasn't really going to work for me since I hate fish. I shoulder the backpack on and buckle the strap across my chest and make sure the doors are locked. I've got my phone to use for GPS and the paper map just in case I don't have a signal to pull it back up. I'm not sure if I'll have a signal at all, but I also didn't know you could have a whole house in the mountains run on a generator. I was told there'd be blue paint-marked trees to guide me. That detail gave me a little more confidence in taking this on alone. Checking my messages one more time to see if Hawk read the text I sent him last night, where I apologized over and over to the point where I probably sounded desperate and begged him to meet me this morning, but never said why. I only see that he hasn't read it. It was my own fault he ignored me. I always chose my job thinking it was the best choice at that moment. If the situation were reversed, I know I'd be just as frustrated and fed up as he was. I come up to the entrance of the trail, scanning the area in front of me. It's 8:30 a.m. and the sun is almost too chilly, but I know once I start going, I'll heat up. There's 12 miles between me and this cabin. My heart races as I think about Hawk and doing this alone, when I could have been here Saturday had I just chosen him, like he wanted me to, what I wanted to do. With one more glance back at the car and a glance down at my phone that shows no messages, I slide it in the side pocket and take a deep breath. I can do this, right? Wait, bears are hibernating this time of year, right? And what about mountain lions? Stop it, brain. Quit trying to psych me out. I can do this. I have everything Hawk said we'd need. I have a knife, a first aid kit, snacks. Following the trail, I take in the nature surrounding me. Birds fly from tree to tree, and the wind makes its presence known every now and then with a rush that makes the trees almost groan in protest. I can definitely relate. Cold weather was best enjoyed inside by a fireplace with a cup of hot cocoa and a good book, nestled between Hawk's legs on the couch as he worked on his crossword puzzle book. But at least there wasn't snow. Thinking about Hawk brings me back to Saturday. I hate how this weekend turned out, and I hate even more to think that might be the last time he speaks to me. Saturday morning. You're kidding, right? I wish I was, but Dahlia bailed, and Carrie isn't ready to take over for an event this size. I'm sorry. The apology was useless. I've had to cancel more dates and trips with Hawk than we've actually had in the last year. Tegan, come on, just tell them no. We've had these plans for weeks. Everything's packed. You just have to get in the car when I get there. My phone vibrated against my face with messages coming from Dahlia's team, no doubt. I hated letting him down. He'd moved to the city for me, and we saw less of each other than when he lived 4 hours away. You're not going to tell them no, are you? The disappointment in his voice nearly broke me. I can't keep doing this, Tegan. I want my girlfriend to choose me, just once, over this job that sucks up all of your attention and energy. You break your back for Dahlia, and she's done nothing but put you down for weeks. Now you're going to cover for her? I couldn't respond. He was right. Hawk knew he was right, and there was nothing I could say that wouldn't have been an utter lie. I was exhausted. I'd cried on the phone with him multiple times while I let Dahlia's insults of my ideas and suggestions drag me down like a cinder block tied to my ankle in the ocean. I knew my next statement was going to make him mad, but it didn't stop me from letting the words out, even though I tendered my voice to try to soften the blow. It's my job, Hawk. I can't let the whole team suffer because Dahlia is a crappy leader. Someone has to take control. He scoffed, and I knew instantly he was done with the conversation. You're not taking control, Tegan. You're bowing down. Tears threatened, and I took a deep breath to respond. I'll make... The call dropped, and when I pulled the phone away to look at the screen, I knew he'd hung up, and I hadn't just suddenly lost signal. Another call immediately came through. It was Carrie. For a brief moment, I considered ignoring her call and just calling Hawk back, but my chest constricted with anxiety. I couldn't let the team down. I'd worked too hard to become the junior executive event planner. I answered Carrie, immediately being bombarded by questions and panicking. You have to get here. The caterer said they never were confirmed, and the auctioneer just called. He has pneumonia. Taking a deep breath, I put her on speakerphone and tried to soothe her worries, all while I scrolled through my contacts for the 2 restaurants I had to use before in a situation like this. Just breathe. Call these 2 restaurants, see if they're okay with co-sponsoring the event. They've done so in the past, so it should be no problem. I'll call the other auctioneer I know. She sighed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. When will you get here? Dashing back to my room, I grabbed the first black dress I saw on a hanger. I'm changing now. I'll see you in 30. I rushed around, getting ready as fast as I could, throwing my hair up in a bun and grabbing my makeup bag off the top of the vanity table before I dashed to the door and slipped on my heels I'd kicked off last night when I got home from work. By the time I made it downtown to the hotel, I'd already secured the backup auctioneer and called to make sure we called in more servers and bartenders to cover the event. Last I checked, Dahlia had lowballed the number of staff they'd need to keep everything circulating and guests happy. Thankfully, Carrie is either just as detailed as I am, or she realized quickly, with the caterer falling through, that the bartending staff and servers needed more help, especially with the restaurants not having more than an 8-hour notice, and they have their own businesses to keep running. Carrie rushed me before I even made it through the door, and the next 8 hours were filled with chaos, from the cooks clashing on what to serve that would complement each other, the hotel running out of valet parking space, and the band hired to play throughout the evening showing up 45 minutes late because Dahlia had emailed them the wrong time. But we'd handled it, and now that the cleaning crew was finishing up, I finally pulled my phone out of my dress pocket, which was the best invention ever for event planners who hated carrying clutches the whole evening. I saw no text from Hawk. I knew I shouldn't have expected him to message me, but my heart plummeted nonetheless. Carrie and I closed out the event, thanking everyone who came to our rescue and promised reviews and testimonies for all their help. Then I was sliding back into my car and heading back to my house. My feet ached from the impractical heels I'd worn. Stupid considering I knew I'd be standing the whole day, but I kicked them off as soon as I stood on my porch. Keys readied, I bent down to pick up my shoes, and when I glanced around, looked left, my heart plummeted. Up against the railing, the hiking backpack Hawk had gotten me, loaded with all the stuff he said I'd need, rested. Tears immediately rushed while I felt like my heart was shattering. Did my decision to work finally push Hawk too far away? How do people do this alone? How does Hawk do this alone? Oh great, now I'm talking to myself. A giant bird flutters and squawks above me, almost as if mocking me. 2 hours into this hike and I'm talking to myself. My back is aching and my thighs are on fire, and I thought I would heat up, but the trees are keeping it pretty dark and cold down here. I'm not used to climbing inclines like this. Heck, I avoid the stairs and uphill walks whenever possible. First thing I look for in a building is the elevator or the escalator. These short stubby legs hate long walks on the beach or up a mountain, as they're now starting to cramp up and scream at me for a break. I'm decently fit, but if the choice is between eating a slice of pumpkin bread or using the stair stepper at the gym, well, the choice is obvious. Pumpkin slice all the way. I come up on an open area and figure this is as good a spot as any to rest. There's a fallen tree that gives me a spot to sit, and I don't hesitate to throw my hiking pack down beside it and collapse against the tree. Hawk was right about getting hiking boots. If I'd worn my tennis shoes, I can imagine the pain my little piggies would be screaming about. The trees in this little area have long shed their leaves, the dead crunchy leaves surrounding my feet. Gazing around, I realize how easy it would be to get lost. All the trees loom and look the same. My anxiety tries to rear its ugly head and psych me out. there could be anyone in these woods. Mr. Kip said he owned all the land, from where I parked and all the way up to his personal cabin. But sometimes hikers from other trails would end up on his property. I mean, what if there are murderers running from the law? It happens. I've listened to enough true crime podcasts to know. I don't know why I torture myself by thinking about that hobby at this moment. Suddenly, every noise is a killer hiding behind a tree, stepping on those dead leaves by accident as he waits to pounce and take me out. Oh, good God, what was I thinking? I'm out here alone, and my heart rate is spiking. My Apple Watch says so. I should have tried harder to get Hawk to answer. He's never let me down when I've needed him, and I know I had to try harder. He'd be right here in this big old forest with me. He'd bring me peace and calm and security. He'd protect me from the killers my brain was currently conjuring. I reached down to the side of the pack and grab for my phone, but just as I grab hold of it, something touches my hand and tickles my wrist. The leaves suddenly move and rustled. Oh my God. I hop up too quickly and stumble over my own feet, trying to get away from the slowly slithering snake that I had apparently thrown my backpack down on. I trip over my own 2 feet, falling back on the path and away from the snake. Right now would be a great time for Hawk to be here, dang it. Popping back up on my feet, I hesitate to reach for my bag. I know absolutely nothing about snakes other than they bite, and I have negative ideas on which ones are venomous and which ones are just going to hurt like a mother trucker. Shouldn't you be hibernating? I speak to the snake like he's going to answer. I tiptoe closer and reach for my bag, cringing and keeping one eye on my new foe as I grab the strap and lift it up and away as I basically sprint backwards away from the fallen tree. Okay, so break time is over. Sore legs be damned. I have 5-ish more hours to go if I keep my pace. I only glance back twice to make sure the enemy isn't following me before I focus back on the path. Up ahead is a huge tree painted with a blue arrow pointing up. I've passed 4 trees marked, so that at least was a good sign I wasn't lost. Small miracles and all that jazz. I would be listening to music, but I didn't want to play it out loud and attract or disturb any animals. And I didn't want to listen with headphones because then I wouldn't know if something was creeping up behind me or rushing me from the side. Oh no, here I go again, off on my murder podcast tangent. Think happy thoughts, Tegan. All my happy thoughts and memories that flit across my mind are filled with Hawk, his big smile and deep dimples, the kindest gray blue eyes and thick brown hair that's always a little too long that I love to run my fingers through. How he always knows how to make me laugh when I'm mad or sad or overwhelmed. He's got the kind of soul that draws you near and lights up all the darkness that haunts. As cliche as it sounds, he's a knight in shining armor. If I think too much about possibly having lost him forever, I feel devastation so deep in my soul it actually makes me hurt. I hope we're not over. He just needs some space, and I need to realize that working myself to death and never getting recognition where it's due was not the life I wanted to live. Look at me now, on a solo adventure, doing something I would absolutely never have done before I met Hawk. He made me stronger, even when he wasn't around me. I come up on a tree in the middle of 2 paths. One skirts further right and up than the one that goes straight, but there's no painted blue arrow to tell me which path to take. I look down at my watch and see that I've been walking another hour and a half. The total hiking time was supposed to take 7 to 8 hours depending on my pace. I'd say I was mid-pace, so I should have only 4 hours left to go, but not if I get lost. Which, come on, this is a mean trick. I got up closer to the tree just to see if maybe the painted arrows was faded, but no dice. This baby is bare, and I'm screwed. My phone has no signal, so I pull out the paper map Hawk had printed off, but I'm not a freaking cartographer, and I have no idea how far I am up this path on this map, and if what I calculate is right, then I should have already come across 2 splits in the trail. Oh crap, did I? What if I was so lost in my thoughts of Hawk that I missed the split in the path? Was there one when I had my first brush with death and the slithery enemy? No, I definitely followed the arrow there. Okay, I can do this. I am smart. I have a master's degree. I'm 25 and independent and a queen at problem solving and managing crisis. I stand on the path and hold the map in front of me and kind of line it up on the path. I realize almost immediately I am dumb. But this is all I've got. Just pick a path. Worst case, you get a little way and have to turn around. I look straight ahead and then to the right. The path straight looks like it's been traveled recently, but I'm also not an American Indian scout that can tell how many wolves are already waiting to eat me. Rational thought tells me to go straight, so I just go. I keep trekking up the path, praying that I got it right. Like I said, worst case scenario, I'll have to backtrack a little bit. No biggie. A grumble in my stomach lets loose, and I reach into the other side pocket for one of the energy bars. They weren't my favorite, but they got the job done for hunger pains. The trees are starting to get thicker, the wind stronger, and I'm starting to lose confidence in my path choice. I keep pushing through though. Every creaking branch and whooshing sound suddenly put me on guard. I truly did feel like someone was walking behind or off to the side of me, hidden by the forest and the loud, amplified sounds of nature. Blowing out a deep, anxiety-ridden breath, I finish my energy bar and tuck the trash back in the side pocket. The climb is getting steeper and the path is looking less traveled than what I initially thought. But at least there was still a path. I suddenly hear rushing water, which is odd because I didn't see any water marked on the map. Picking up my pace, I get through a dense patch of trees, and when I come to an opening, sure enough the clearing grants a stunning waterfall into a small pool that leads to a tiny stream further down the path. Maybe Mr. Kip just wanted to keep this place a secret. Hawk would absolutely love this. He'd threatened to dive in even though the water had to be freezing at this time of year. My phone chirps with a text, but I'm too busy taking in the sight to be bothered. The water is so clear, I can see the fish that swim around the bottom. I can't help myself but to move up closer. Crouching down, I run my hand over the pool before dipping it in, and the icy grip of it immediately has me pulling it back out. I look up, seeing that an overcast now blocked out most of the sun, making the sky gray and dull. It hadn't snowed yet this winter, by the way the sky was looking, and the temps are dropping. Tonight could be the night for a little wonderland. That thought has me standing up straight. I can't get caught out here in a snowstorm. If I received a text, then maybe I still have enough signal to pull up the GPS and make sure I am indeed on the right path. I don't even look to see who the message is from, but instead pull up the GPS app and confirm that I am definitely on the right path. Oh, thank God. Then I click back to my message. My heart soars. Hawk, where are you? I put the camera on selfie mode and make the waterfall my background. Snapping a big smiled selfie, I attach it to the message and hit send. He'll probably think I photoshopped the picture. I'm not Miss Outdoors like he is Mr. Outdoors. I pick the movies for date nights while he picks the adventures for dates. We balance each other out, even though I feel like I've done nothing but drag us both down lately. I wait a few moments just in case I lose signal again. After a couple of minutes though, there's no response. Swiping back to the GPS, I confirm again that I'm on the right path. I guess my gut instinct to go this way was right after all. Confidence restored, I take in the waterfall and scenery one more time, then continue on. Even if he's still angry with me, I hope Hawk's proud of me. The first night we met, he told me he hoped I stopped living for tomorrow and what's next, and instead just embrace today and what's happening now. Well, Hawk, here I am, living in the now. I just wish you were here with me. 4 years ago. Come here often? The deep, tender voice caught me off guard, and I nearly knocked my glass off the bar top. He steadied it with a flashlight reflexes, though. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. When I looked over and took in my interpretation, I swear my heart stopped beating, despite his terribly dated pickup line. You should be in a magazine with a smile like that. My mouth instantly formed an O shape. I'm not usually that unfiltered. He laughed though, so I guess he didn't mind too much. The bartender came back to our side and asked the stranger what he'd like. Want another? The new stranger pointed to my half-empty glass. I quirked my lips to the side. I really shouldn't. Water? He asked. I nodded and he gave his order plus my water to the bartender. The biggest sigh heaved out of my chest as I grabbed my glass back up and sucked down the burning vodka concoction to finish it off. Rough night? I didn't even bother looking over, just stared at the glass and swirled the ice around with my straw. Rough month. Even with my gloomy attitude, he seemed to be intrigued. The bartender set his glass down, amber liquid and an orange sliced garnish, and my water in front of me. I took a sip of the water and placed it back down on the coaster in front of me. I'd been sitting at this bar on this same stool for 2 hours. My mood must have shown on my face because no one had approached me but the 2 bartenders, until this guy. He took a decent swallow of his drink before glancing back towards me. He'd yet to take a seat on the empty stool next to me, but didn't seem to be going anywhere as he rested his forearms on the bar and leaned forward slightly. The position gave me a great view of his sharp jawline as he gazed at the TV behind the bar. I don't think I've seen you around before. That's because you haven't. Visiting family? No. In town for the McCluster's wedding. I'm just passing through. He hummed before taking another swallow of his drink. Bad breakup? That had my head swiveling to him. Excuse me? I asked with every bit of offense. He locked eyes with me then, and the blue-gray tinted eyes stared into my damned soul. You just look a little heartbroken. I scoffed. Of course he thinks it's a boy problem. But no, I didn't just get dumped like he probably hoped. Maybe he thought he'd found an easy target for a one-night stand. Well, Mr. Buff, dark and intimidatingly handsome, no, I didn't just get kicked to the curb by a boy. I just broke down here on my way back from a job interview in the city, and then was called and told I didn't get the job. And now I'm going to end up stuck at my parents' house working at the same diner my Nana and mother worked at, paying off my Titanic student loans because my education just hit an iceberg. A whistle like a bomb drop came from his perfect puckered lips. Ouch, double whammy. I could only nod. Well, he finally took a seat. Jobs come and go. Sounds like this one wasn't meant to be, but there will be others. Scoffing, I muttered back at him, "Thanks, Yoda." "You're welcome. By the way, I'm Hawk." He held out his hand towards me. I stared at it, then back at him as he waited with a grin on his face that softened his intense jawline and deepened his dimples. Tegan. I gave into his charm and placed my hand in his. He gently shook it twice before letting go. "So, Tegan, tell me about yourself." We both rotated, angling ourselves to one another to make talking easier. I'd already word purged enough with him, but something about him made me calmer. "What do you want to know?" "What was the interview for?" "Assistant for a senior event planner at one of the top companies in the city." He looked at me like he was assessing my skills, and just from the little bit I gave him, he came to a very accurate conclusion. "So you like control," he said as a statement. "I like details," I rebutted. He chuckled but didn't argue. We spent the next hour with him inquiring about me and me just willingly answering, which in hindsight is the dumbest mistake to make for a girl traveling alone and stuck in a town where I knew no one. But he made it so easy, and even though I didn't ask him any questions, I felt like I already knew him. He was comfort and guidance, listening without interrupting and never pushing for an answer I didn't want to give. After another half hour of talking, I finally don't feel as down as I was when I walked into this small town bar. I should get back to my room. I rifled in my purse for a tip. I had a habit of throwing my change and small bills in my purse instead of tucking it away in my wallet. He pulled out a 20 and laid it on the bar. "Don't worry about it. I'll cover the tips." I glared over at him as I latched on to some of the stray ones and placed them on the bar. "I'm fully capable of tipping for the drinks I ordered before you came along." "Oh, I have no doubt. But my mom raised me to pay for a lady's meal or drinks whenever she graced me with her time. And if I didn't now, I'm pretty sure she'll know by the time I walk out of this bar and beat my behind." I couldn't help it. I looked straight at him and laughed. One of those short, obnoxious ones that bordered on rude. Fine, but I'm still leaving my ones. He had a southern charm that didn't really match up with the semi-rugged looks he had going. His jeans had grease on them, and there was a tear in the sleeve of his shirt. Not that I was taking more of him in without my bad day blinding me. He seemed more like the bad boy that rode a motorcycle with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. "Fair enough," he conceded. "Well, thanks for the chat. Anytime. In fact, I think you should probably have your new therapist's number. And my patience. He pulled out his phone, unlocking it and getting ready to enter whatever number he thought he was about to get. My jaw had to have touched the ground. Was he really a therapist? Is that how he pegged I needed someone to vent to? Oh my God, he thinks I'm crazy. He certainly didn't look like a therapist would in my imagination. You're a therapist? A Cheshire cat smile took over his face. No, I just really wanted your number. Then he winked. He freaking winked. We'll probably never see each other again, I pointed out. Why would you want the number of a girl you just met that's passing through? I have a feeling we'll see each other again. Oh yeah? Yes, he deadpanned. Call it instinct. What if I don't want to see you again? He leaned closer as I adjusted my purse on my shoulder. Do you always lie to yourself when life gets real? My eyes widened and I felt personally attacked. Here's my number. He slipped a napkin into my hand that had his number scrolled across it. I didn't know when he even did that, but yeah, he was Mr. Smooth. I hope you stop living for tomorrow and worrying about what's next and start embracing what's happening now right in front of you. And what's happening right now? I questioned him. He gestured with his arms out wide. The start of a beautiful friendship. Maybe even, dare I say, the start of forever. I shook my head, not even bothering with a response as I left him at the bar and headed across the street to the sweet little inn that thankfully had room for me. I was not going to call this guy, but 2 weeks later, I got a call from a job at another event planning agency. After a phone interview, they called me back 2 hours later and offered me the job without even seeing me in person. I was packing up my room the next day when I came across the little napkin Hawk had written his number on. My stomach instantly fluttered, and before I knew it, I was dialing. I moved to the city 8 hours from home 3 days later, and he called me every other day to chat and see how it was going. Soon after, we didn't go a day without talking, and eventually he'd come hang out on the weekends and we'd explore the city together. I could tell big cities weren't his thing, but he toughed it out. Our friendship grew into something more, and he left the small town he loved to find an apartment and job closer to me. Hawk always knew what he wanted and how a little patience went a long way. Somewhere along the right path, I must have taken a wrong turn, which isn't good because I know the sun is going to set soon, and I should have been at the cabin by now. I'm tired and hungry, and my body from the waist down feels like it weighs 600 pounds. The path is narrow, and I'm getting hit by branches and stumbling over debris as I charge through. It's been an hour since I've seen the last blue arrow painted tree. Mr. Kip needs to seriously remark this path because this isn't cutting it. Maybe for experienced hikers, sure, but I'm a dang newbie, and this isn't panning out like I hoped. It doesn't help that I've heard growls and hoots and skittering animals a lot more often the higher I hiked. I'm not prepared for an animal bigger than a squirrel, so I swear if a mountain lion pops out and decides to play cat and mouse, this mouse will die on sight. There's a large knife in the hiking pack, but Hawk was the one who carried the gun. Now I wish I would have taken the class he wanted me to so I could protect myself from whatever was definitely stalking me up this mountain. I don't care if it's the Dateline episode talking. There's something out here, and I know it wants to eat me. Come on, I can't be that far off. I have to be close. I check my phone for signal again, but of course there's none. I kind of want to turn back, but I know for a fact that in the last 30 minutes there was definitely no other paths to veer off on. And yeah, this is probably my fault because I kept thinking of Hawk, and he's just a distracting topic. In the best way possible, that is, but I was supposed to be staying vigilant. Mr. Kip knows I'm coming, and since I was supposed to meet him, if I don't show, then surely he knows something is wrong. Like I was eaten by Bigfoot, or lost. Whichever scenario got him searching for me, the better. I was so proud of myself for making it this far with only a few slips and stumbles and one meeting with an enemy, aka that slithery big fella that I thought was supposed to be hibernating. The sky is getting darker by the minute, and my panic mode is engaging to the point where Even though I'm starting to freeze and my fingers are going a bit numb, my forehead is sweating. I'm actually starting to get a little nauseous from the anxiety of being lost out here and no one finding me. I need Hawk. I think I hear the whirring of an engine, but I'm also kind of starving, so it could be wishful thinking or my stomach starting its engine to eat itself. Gross, but I mean, I've only had 2 energy bars and water in the last 8 hours. A howl rings loudly through the trees, and I come to a dead stop. Was that behind me, or was that in front of me? Oh God, I'm going to be eaten. I start to run, not caring if I bring more attention to myself or about how badly my feet are aching. The light is almost completely faded out, and down here, buried in the trees, I'm basically blind. There's a tree trunk down across the path, and I consider hurtling over it, but that seems just as dangerous as whatever is out there howling like it knows I'm close. Crap, 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 I chant before I get to the log and the kind of belly flop onto it and roll across it to keep on the path. When I'm back upright, I see a light flash through the woods and up towards the right. Hey, I shout, Mr. Kip. Wait, what if it isn't Mr. Kip? Oh, stupid murder podcast. My imagination is running wild. I jog up the path, and just as I come up to the clearing, then I look back over my shoulder, looking to see if the wolf or coyote or fox or whatever the heck is out there is behind me. But it's a mistake, and I end up tripping on a giant pine cone. I fall forward, trying to catch myself on my hands, but the hiking pack is heavier than I anticipated, and it ends up bringing me butt over end, and then I'm on my back. Staring up into the open space, the sky above is turning navy, but thick white clouds bubble up, and the moon is so big I swear I could touch it. I could lie here a little longer, but it's actually freezing, and I want to know who had the flashlight. Pushing myself up, I look around the clearing, and when I do, I see a beautiful A-frame cabin with a wall of glass looking at me. There was a light on inside that illuminated the kitchen, but I couldn't see anyone moving around. Then I remembered I'd seen a flashlight, or at least I think I did. But when I look around more, I don't see anyone else out here. Maybe they went into the woods. I climb to my feet and head towards the deck that wraps around this amazing place. The roof material they used is all black and sleekly modern. This isn't exactly the image of a remote cabin in the woods that I'd pictured. This is like a trendy resort kind of place all the hipsters would go to so they could Instagram it. #adventure. This is amazing, I say to no one, obviously because I'm alone. Or at least I think I am. Mr. Kip? I shout. Maybe he's inside or he traveled further into the woods. Hello? Anyone here? I climb up the stairs to the deck, taking in the stone fire pit that had burning embers, looking like it was recently put out. There aren't any chairs around it, but there is one cute little folding camping chair halfway between the door and the fire pit. A light flashes behind me and I freeze, and then there's a hand on my shoulder. Tegan. I'm halfway ready to scream when the tenderly deep voice says my name and I whip around. Huck! What the hell are you doing here? He shrugs, then gazes around the open area. I've been here since Saturday. My heart is unsure whether it should beat rapidly or stop dead. Hawk is here. I drop the backpack and throw my arms around his neck and plaster myself to his body. I am so sorry. He hesitates to touch me, but slowly I feel him wrap his arms around my waist. A tight squeeze pulls me up to my tiptoes as he hugs me closer. You're freezing. He pulls back slightly and gazes down into my eyes. His hair is ruffled, like he might have been tugging on it. When you didn't show up at the time I was expecting, I started to get worried. I was out looking for you. I lower back to the flat ground and pull back. I'm pretty sure there was a cougar chasing me that last bit. He laughs, tipping his head back and reaching to pull me close again. Tegan, there are no cougars up here. I frown. Then a wolf. Definitely something. I heard it growl, and I swear every time I stepped, it stepped. He tries to hold back his laugh this time. I already had a brush with death when a snake tried to climb into my bag. Snakes are in brumation. That's what it's called. Who knew? Well, this snake definitely wasn't. He was ready to strike. You probably just stumbled across his home. It's likely he wouldn't have done anything unless he was hungry. My eyes widen to saucers, and then the quiet moment is interrupted by my hunger. Come on, let's get you inside and you can use the indoor plumbing and I'll heat you up some of the stew I made. He takes my hand and tucks me inside. I'm instantly engulfed in heat and the smell of coffee, and I fall in love. This place is stunning. It's very open, and there's open iron stairs that lead to the second level. There's a half bath back there, but the shower's upstairs if you want to wash off. I don't think I stink, but a shower would actually really soothe my aching body. I take my pack from him and head up to the shower. By the time I come down, dressed in yoga pants, fuzzy socks with dogs on them, and his hoodie, he's got a bowl of stew and 2 old fashions poured and ready. I look back out the glass wall and see that he's restarted the fire. Figured you might want to enjoy a fire. I fight a smile. He knows me so well. That sounds perfect. I drop a pair of house slippers I'd brought with me and slip them on. We head outside, and Hawk gestures for me to sit on the little folding chair he brings closer to the fire. Thank you. Hawk walked around the deck as I gobbled up the yummy stew he'd made and enjoyed the fire. It smells like it's going to snow. He chuckled. It's not on the radar. Shrugging, I took a big bite and mumbled around the mouthful. It's intuition. He leans against the railing close to me as I finish my food and set the bowl down by my feet. Intuition, huh? Holding up my hands up to the fire, I breathe in the smell of the wood and the coming snow, even if he thinks I'm delusional. So when you texted me to ask where I was, you already knew. Kip came down earlier to tell me you called him last night. Maybe a little wine tipsy. A blush heats my face more than the fire does. Nodding softly, I pick up the drink he made me and take a tentative sip. It's way better than the vodka drinks I used to try to choke down. Hawk, I should never have canceled on you. You were so right. Dahlia did a crap job preparing the event, and I swooped in and cleaned up her mess only for her to get all the recognition. I do let her walk all over me, and I complained about it to you all the time, and you never complain about a single thing. I'm the worst girlfriend. You left all your friends and family, and we've barely seen each other over the last 3 months. Word vomit is a thing, and I am purging all my thoughts I'd solidified on the lonely hike up here. I may have wanted Hawk there with me, but I also needed the challenge and quiet time to come to terms with what I wanted. I want Hawk. I want adventure. I want to be the best at what I do for work, but I don't want to be walked all over and expected to clean up messes that aren't mine. I don't want to sacrifice moments that build a life and memories. I never want to sacrifice Hawk again. And I tell him all this, and he just stands there and listens, like he always does. Always so patient. What I really mean to say is, I sigh, I'm sorry you mean more to me than the job, and I know I've done a terrible job of showing you that. You done? Hawk asked as he came closer. He kneeled down on one knee and rotated me towards him. His eyes almost seemed to glow the way that fire lit up his irises. Taking one of my hands with both of his, he pulls it to his mouth and places a kiss on the back of my hand. When he lowers his hands, he blew out a deep breath. The fact that you made the decision to come up here, even without me, is so amazing. You may like your details and your control, but you didn't know how today would go. That mountain lion really could have got you and ate your feet like you feared. He teased me. How was I supposed to know there weren't mountain lions in these mountains? Yours is the light by which my spirit's born. You are my sun, my moon, and all my stars. Hawk quotes my favorite poet, E. E. Cummings. And as we're gazing at each other, sitting on our cozy camping chairs and taking in each other like we're just now seeing all the connections, he reaches into his pocket, pulls out a small box, and opens it. So now we're supposed to open our gift. Oh, the story's so cute! Okay, here is our day 11. I feel multiple things in here. Okay, so what is in this? I think I know what this is. So it is the little stool. I think there was a mess up though. because I think that the cute little print is supposed to be on the top and that's supposed to be on the bottom. But I don't know that there's a way to fix that. So it's cute, it collapses like this, but and it pops back into place like by itself. Wait, I don't know how I did it, but I just, what? I fixed it. I don't know how I did that. I guess, I think this was just like twisted the wrong way or something, but yay! Now it's the way it's supposed to be, and it's very cute. And I'm guessing maybe that's the poem or something. Okay, but then we also have this thing. So let's open this little fuzzy jewelry box looking thing. Ooh, pretty. So it's like a star and moon ring. Cute. I might give this to Xander possibly, or something. I don't know. I can't wear it because I'm allergic to a lot of like fake jewelry, but that's what it looks like. It's really pretty. I really like this little stool though. And I just think it's really neat that it has like these rubber things in it so they pull apart, but it brings it back together. Okay, back to the story. My breath catches. He opens the box, almost as if in slow motion, and a stunning band with a small raised diamond and platinum crescent moons on each side, with tiny diamonds embedded into the band, comes into view. You may have intuition about the rain and the snow, but 4 years ago, I saw my future flash before my eyes when I saw you sitting alone at that bar. Tears are trying to blur my vision, and I snort through a laugh, remembering how my filter was non-existent. You said it maybe was the start of forever, and I fully believe it was. I want that. The future I saw. I want you and this. He gestured around us. I want your overactive imagination from all the stuff you read and listen to. I want adventure and long days and longer nights. Hawk, I whisper. Tears stream now, and I move to wipe them off my cheeks, but he beats me to it. Tegan, I want to spend a lifetime listening to your voice and waking up next to you and being the first thing you see as you wake up. Hawk, just ask me already, I almost scream, but try to keep it toned down. He laughs now, his smile taking over his face, and I want to reach over and thread my fingers through his hair and yank him to me. Seal this deal with a kiss. Tegan. He drags it out, and I'm about to just steal the ring from him and slip it on my finger. He sees my impatience and must realize what I'm about to do. Will you do me the greatest honor and marry me? Not even a second passes, and I shout, yes. A full-bellied laugh escapes him, and he pulls out the stunning ring that is literally my favorite quote created in jewelry fashion, and slowly slips it on. My hand is shaking as I stare down at the ring. I can't even remember what brought me to this moment, or the fact that I hiked 8 hours by myself to a remote cabin. I can't believe he was here, and I'm so overwhelmed and happy he is. I love you. He stands and I follow. My heart is going to combust. I love you too. I respond, and then I jump up and latch myself around him. His hands go to my butt to keep me up, and I dive in to kiss him. My hands finally get to thread through his thick hair at the nape of his neck. He takes us inside and upstairs to the loft where the bed is and sets me down on it. I have to go out and put the fire out. I'll be right back. I don't let go of him though, tugging him closer as he tries to pull away, kissing him more. When he realizes I'm not ready to let him go, he smiles and laughs, then tickles me, so I'll let him go to defend myself. Stay right there, he commands, and I grin. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. He rushes back downstairs and outside, and I see the smoke start to thicken and climb up into the night as he extinguishes the fire. The bed is pretty close to the glass wall, but not quite shoved up against it. There are curtains for privacy, so that's kind of reassuring. I hate the thought of someone being able to watch me while I sleep and that I don't know is doing it. I watch Hawk start to come back inside, and when I look up to the sky, I see the flakes start to fall. I knew it. He comes back inside, and I hear him flip the switch for the kitchen light, and then his steps on the stairs are quick as he comes back to the loft. I know most people celebrate with champagne, but that's not really our style. I'm still gazing at the snowflakes falling more rapidly when he comes into my peripheral, but I smell the chocolate. He's holding a mug of hot cocoa out to me, and I can't fight the big smile that takes over. I take the mug and scoot forward so he can climb in behind me, and I can lean back against his chest. When we're settled, I hold the mug in one hand and gaze at my ring on the other. You're kidding, Hawk says, sounding absolutely befuddled. It's freaking snowing. I look back over my shoulder and smirk. Told you so. We both gaze out the glass wall in front of us and take in the sight. Hawk strums his fingers down my arms, and I sink into him even more. When he trails his fingers over mine, I layer my hand over his, and we thread our fingers together. If it's snowing, maybe you really were being stalked by a mountain lion. Hawk! Tegan, I love you. I love you so much. I love that story. That was a very sweet story. I like it. And it didn't make me cry. It was just all sweet and mushy, and I loved it. So what did you guys think of this story? Did you like it? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!